Well, I had another devotional planned, but due to the untimely death of a real good friend, Roy Skipper, I thought this was more appropriate. Another day. Another day, be it sad or gay, God's greatest gift is each new day. Why were we chosen, allowed to stay upon this earth for another day? Another chance to see our friends, another chance to make amends, another chance to see the sun. Truly, we're lucky, for we have won another day. The golden moments quickly fly. Oh, what joy, what a beautiful sky. Or maybe it's raining. That's lovely too. It helps bring the fruits of the earth to you. Let's show him we're thankful for this new day. Spread love and joy along our way. Give alms to the poor and visit the sick. Don't waste 1 minute. Life goes so quick. Now that the shadows of night are failing and the birds to their mates have ceased their calling, might it not be appropriate to say, thank you, dear Lord, just for this day? May we pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you in a good way and ask you to bless my family and me. Keep us away from all anxiety and stress and help us to overcome our inner fears. I pray that the poor be blessed, not only the financially troubled, but also the mentally, physically, and spiritually challenged. I ask that you watch over their lives and steer them away from harmful thoughts and substances. Thank you for letting everyone wake up this morning, healthy and able to live another day. Thank you, Lord, for this food that you provide for us through your bounty. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. You always have good ones. Thank you, Pat. Willie, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome everyone here today. Ken, we just said we wondered where you guys were. You're always here. And
I was waiting for it to stop raining.
Oh, is it?
It was pouring down.
Really? Well, we're glad you made it.
When we got ready to go, it started pouring down again.
Okay. Last week, or the week of 2 through 7 May, was Public Service Recognition Week. I did put an article in the paper about it. I think that was the only thing I saw in Hawkinsville was what NARFE did. So I want to thank all the public servants for what they have done and continue to do. And this week is National Police Week, 15 through 21 May. Every year, the week that May the 15th falls on, it's always National Police Week. And what that does is it recognizes the services and sacrifices of U.S. law enforcement. And it pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the lines of duty for the safety and protection of others. And this was started in 1962 during the Kennedy administration. And we know right now that our law enforcement personnel are so many times now are not given the respect that they are due, and we certainly need to thank them when we see them this week, not just this week, but all weeks. And also then Memorial Day is the 30th of May, and that's the holiday to remember the people who died while serving in our country's armed forces. It's not, don't get it confused with Veterans Day, because Veterans Day honors everybody, living and deceased, who have served. But Memorial Day is to remember the people who died in service to the country. And I want to share with you a poem. I have probably read it here before, but it's something that means a lot to me. It's called Freedom is Not Free. Many of you have probably heard it. I watched the flag pass by one day. It fluttered in the breeze. A young Marine saluted it, and then he stood at ease. I looked at him in uniform, so young, so tall, so proud. He'd stand out in any crowd. I thought, how many men like him had fallen through the years? How many died on foreign soil? How many mothers' tears? How many pilots' planes shot down? How many died at sea? How many foxholes were soldiers' graves? No, freedom isn't free. I heard the sound of taps one night when everything was still. I listened to the bugler play and felt a sudden chill. I wondered just how many times that taps had meant amen, when a flag had draped the coffin of a brother, of a friend. I thought of all the children, of the mothers and the wives, of fathers, sons, and husbands, with interrupted lives. I thought about a graveyard at the bottom of the sea, of unmarked graves in Arlington. No, freedom is not free, and we certainly need to remember that because of our men and women in uniform, past and present, we enjoy the freedoms that we enjoy today. This has not been a very good month since the last meeting in regard to loss of members and friends. First, you know, we lost Larry Albright. He died following surgery at Emory. This was a surgery that he had to have, basically, and he just never recovered from the initial surgery of the thing. And last Saturday, there was a really nice memorial service down at Veterans Park. I thought it was really a special tribute to Larry. And several of the chapter members attended, and I thank you, those of you that attended, and I know Nancy really appreciated it. And we hope to see Nancy back soon. Then this morning, I learned that one of our members, Mr. Roy Skipper, he has been a member for a long time. He has not been able to come because of health and so forth. He passed away yesterday or Tuesday? Yesterday. It's interesting. I'm getting paranoid about sending get well cards because I just put a get well card in the mail to him because I had been told he had a stroke. And then after his stroke, he passed away. So let's continue to keep his family in our thoughts and prayers. Then many of you remember John Bellflower. John was a member of our chapter for a long time. He wasn't a member when he passed away, but John also passed away. And then if you've been to any NARFE Federation convention, you probably remember our friend Ray Williams. The reason you remember Ray is he wore this ugly old fishing hat that I don't care where he was, he had this hat on, and he was basically our conscience of NARFE at Federation's conventions when we had resolutions, because you could count on Ray challenge you on something, but you knew he had done his homework. Well, when I read his obituary, I was amazed at his background. You would have never known it. He was a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, had a bachelor's degree in journalism and a master's degree in management engineering. So now I sort of understand all of his analytical things. And then last week, NARFE, also Georgia Federation, lost another longtime member. And some of you may remember Mike Deep. Mike was the Federation parliamentarian for 12 years. Mike had been a mentor to me. He would call and we would talk and so forth. And Larry and I and some other Federation members attended Mike's funeral mass last Friday in Macon. So please keep all these families in our thoughts and prayers. And if you know of anybody else, please let me know so that we can send cards. And if he was if they were a chapter member, we do memorials. We did a memorial for Larry Albright to one of the places that they suggested was the Ronald McDonald House. So Evelyn sent a memorial to the Ronald McDonald House. And for Lil Reed, who passed away in February, we just did the memorial to the FIA Disaster Fund because we wanted it to stay within NARFE because her family didn't name any agency for it to go to. So we did the donation to the FIA Disaster Fund. So that's what's going on with that. Birthdays. I think one of the ladies is here today. I think her name is Loma. Let's see, Miss Loma, you had a birthday on the 10th. Happy belated birthday. And Walt, you have one on May the 15th. So happy belated birthday to both of you. I also think I missed mentioning birthdays last month. I know Nancy had one on the last day of the month, and I don't think I mentioned it. So happy belated birthday to you also, Nancy. Let's see. Since Nancy's still eating, we'll skip the minutes and the financial report, and we'll let Larry go ahead and do his legislative report. Just continue to eat, Nancy. We'll get the minutes of it.
Eat fast, Nancy. This is going to be short. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm going to start off with some things that I think are very important that is kind of muddling around on Capitol Hill, and that's the passage of a budget for fiscal year 2017. The President presented his budget, and then we should have had a finalized budget by the 15th of April, but in true fashion and style, it didn't occur. But last year's budget agreement, the one that Representative Ryan crafted, really kind of set the spending levels for fiscal year 17. And it would not actually been necessary to pass a separate budget for 2017. Some of the people in the House did want to pass a new budget, which would have been probably really drawn out the process after they had discussed it and quarreled over it. They were not successful in doing that. So before the April 15th deadline, nothing has occurred. But it has been forwarded to the House Ways and Means for the appropriation committees to begin their work. And it means that they will be working with basically last fiscal year budget. So now the focus is on the appropriation process and working to make sure that nothing is targeted toward the federal community in that. Congress still has until September the 30th to pass the 12 appropriation bills. Is anybody in here can tell me what the 12 appropriation bills are? You are? I'll give you $5 right now.
Can you?
No, I can't, but I got them. I've got them. But nothing really changes on Capitol Hill because it's most likely that they will pass a continuing resolution rather than passing a budget. And I think from their perspective, they want to wait until the election is over to see who they're going to have to deal with. It's possible, but it's not expected that we'll have the infamous shutdown of the government and the fight that goes along with that for this coming year. I asked, did you know the 12 appropriation bills, and didn't get any takers on the $5 offer. So right here is a listing of all those and all the sins and transgressions. Well, that can come get them. That'll be fine. All the sins and transgressions that occur there. But, you know, it's interesting when you start looking at budgeting and who's in charge, who's driving the train. In the House, we have Tom Price, who's from Georgia's 6th District, is the chairman of that process, and the ranking member there is Chris Van Hollen. Now, since Van Hollen has been elevated to fill the seat of Barbara McCluskey, who retires, I don't know who will be the ranking member at that point. We also have Rob Woodall from Georgia's 7th District is on that committee. Now on the Senate side, the chairman is a Republican from Wyoming, Mike Enzi. Now, hold your applause, but the ranking member of the Senate Budget Committee is none other than the Bernie Sanders is a ranking member. Now, one good thing that we can talk about there in the Senate side is Johnny Isakson is a part of that committee. So hopefully, you know, we'll have some common sense and balance in that. What I want to also talk to you about is, if I can find it here in just a moment. Just before I left the house, the NARFE magazine arrived, and I always go to the bill tracker in there, and one of the things that I went looking for immediately was COLA. We have a House Resolution 3351. That's the Consumer Price Index Elderly Act of 2015. Representative Mike Honda out of California has proposed that. He's got, so far, 33 people have signed on to that. That is what we all need as senior retirees. We need a CPIE calculation for COLA. And the reason we do is that the CPIE focuses on the things that we have to spend money on, like drugs, food, the necessities of life. It's not like the entertainment, the vacation, transportation, and those things that the CPIW focuses on. This is something that has been being kicked around for, I know, a good 4 years. Last year, as I was at Capitol Hill, I talked to every member of the Georgia delegation and left with them an information paper on CPIE. I got favorable comments from the delegation, and I hope that this is something that we can get behind as members of NARFE by calling our senators and our congressmen and asking them to support this CPIE, because it can make the difference between whether we have money to buy our medications at the end of the month or whether we are able to buy food. It's very, very important, so we need to look at that. It also ties into the Medicare Part B. Now, there's some conflict about how this is going to play out, but I'm going to read this verbatim, and this is what I've received from National Headquarters. It says, if there is no COLA, then the agreement reached at the end of last year holds, and those people last year that were held harmless still stay held harmless. If Part B premium rise, those not held harmless will likely see their premiums rise to a new amount, but not more. I'm not sure what that not more means. It says if there is a COLA large enough to cover the increased cost of Medicare Part B, then protections of the agreement will kick in and Medicare Part B beneficiaries will pay the new higher rates plus a $3 surcharge. The bigger concern, more concerning issue here is if there is a small COLA that does not cover the Medicare Part B increase. If that is the case, those not held harmless will see a large increase, possibly as large as the threatened 52% we saw last year. There's a lot of unknowns here. There's a lot of time that's going to be between now and when this is finalized. But what we all need to do is be talking again to our congressmen and to our senators about this. There needs to be a better way of calculating the COLA. And since we did not get a COLA last year, the baseline for an increase remains the third quarter of 2014. And if you all remember, I told you last year, or maybe earlier this year, that if we wanted a COLA, we would need to have $5 a gallon gasoline. So I don't think we want to go to that extreme to get a COLA, but there's got to be a better way to take care of those of us that depend on our Social Security and our annuities to survive. Just to let you know how our elected officials are on the job for us. The House will be in recess for Memorial Day holiday, May the 2nd through June the 6th. And then the last week of June. They'll be returning by the 5th of July. On the other side there, the Senate will recess for Memorial Day. That's May 30th through June the 3rd. But will only take July the 1st through July the 5th off for the 4th of July holiday. So, you know, they're there and they're earning their money, and we should be very proud of them. Some of the current bills that we're watching beside the COLA is postal reform, and, you know, everybody wants to do something about it, but nobody's willing to really and truly bite the bullet and make the necessary changes that need to be made there. There's a number of Senate and House resolutions that are out there. They're all in the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. So that's, again, is going to be something that we will look at down the road. Repeal of the windfall elimination provision, not repeal, but reform. There's right now 3 pieces of legislation out there, and one that repeals, absolutely repeals the that is House Resolution 973, and that was put forth by Representative Rodney Davis out of Illinois. Senate Bill 1651 is the Social Security Fairness Act of 2015, put forth by Sherrod Brown, Senator Sherrod Brown of Ohio. That too is with the House Ways and Means and with the Senate Finance Committee. H.R. 711, which is the main bill that we're looking at, was put forth by Representative Kevin Brady of Texas, primarily focusing on school teachers and other local municipal employees. That seems to be getting a little traction, but it has a long way to go. And it too is with the House Committee on Ways and Means. So there's not going to be a lot of activity on that anytime soon. Of course, we still have paid parental leave there, which doesn't seem to be getting much traction, but that would allow federal employees 6 weeks of paid leave for the birth or adoption of a child. That too is with the House Committees on Administration, Oversight, and Government Reform, Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. Everybody's taking a look at that. That one would be a very costly one. And then there is the one that is a perennial favorite, and that's statehood for D.C. I don't think we're going to see a lot of activity in the next 2 or 3 months, maybe not till after the election and the new administration takes office, because there's so much infighting on both sides of the aisle that both parties now are fighting among themselves. Bernie is fighting with Hillary and Donald's fighting with the entire GOP. So stay tuned for details, or even go to take a walk and enjoy life. That's it.
Thank you, Larry. Okay, Nancy.
All right, minutes of the April 21st meeting are on the table. Hopefully you all had a chance to look over them. Does anybody have any changes or questions? Nope.
Okay, if there's no changes, do I hear a motion that the minutes be approved as written? Do I hear a second? Second. Okay, all approved, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, the minutes stand approved as written. Evelyn's not here today, but we do have the budget report. It's also in your newsletter. We started out with $409.43, and then we had $96.66 in disbursements. Those disbursements were the annual liability insurance, which was $75, and then that was speakers and new members lunch. She only indicated it was speakers lunch, but it was also the new member that was here last month. That was $21.66. And then our receipts were only $37, and this is the normal trend. The NARFE, the money we get from NARFE every month, that was only $6. We collected $22 for Alzheimer's and $9 for Sunshine. The Alzheimer's and the Sunshine money is not, even though we account for it, it has to be kept separate from our regular budget when we pay things. So right now, including Alzheimer's and Sunshine, we have $349.77. And the reason the Sunshine account is so low is because those two memorials came out of that. So that was the reason that is so low. So I encourage you to put money in both the Alzheimer's and the Sunshine box before you leave today. Are there any questions on the budget report? If not, do I hear a motion that it be approved as presented?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Second. Okay, all approve, all in approval of it, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the financial report stands approved as written. For our program today, we need to talk about a subject that is very critical right now, because it could have an impact, or it will have an impact on NARFE's future, and it's called strategic planning. If you remember, we've talked about it several times here, and strategic planning actually was a byproduct of the Future of NARFE committee, because in the committee, the Fund Committee recommended several things that were voted on at the 2014 convention, such as reduction in the number of national officers and a couple of things like that, and the hiring of a CEO or executive officer for headquarters. Also at the convention that year, it was voted on that we embark on strategic planning. NARFE may have done some of it through the years, but it was very low-key, and they really didn't do a lot about it. So they decided, hey, we got to get busy on this. So they established a committee, a strategic planning committee, and supposedly each member of that team, it was someone who had served at a chapter or federation in a leadership role. Well, there was some questions when the list of strategic planning members came out that too many of them had been a member of the fund, so how could they really give a new perspective on this? I think there was a hidden agenda. Even NARFE came out. If there hadn't have been a hidden agenda, I don't know why they said that there was no hidden agenda, because I think they had been questioned on that, and they were trying to defend themselves. But anyway, this committee started meeting, and they published, there were things available on the website that we could look at. And then at the November executive board meeting in 2015, the board accepted the first draft of the strategic plan, and that called for adoption of 3 bylaw changes that they said will make NARFE solvent in the future. Well, problem is NARFE is in deep trouble financially. I mean, big time, and I'll give you an example of this. What percentage of the dues come from, or the revenue comes from dues? 63%, because NARFE's a member-based organization. Well, when you got 63% of your revenues coming from membership, and the membership is on a rapid decline, that has a severe impact on it. NARFE, right now, at the end of April, which is the last report that came out, its membership was down to 221,637 members. That's a big decrease. And we've always been told if NARFE reaches the 200,000 membership level, NARFE can't survive. Well, it's fast approaching. NARFE averages 25 deaths a day. Well, any organization is going to have people that die, but NARFE's rapidly losing members because our members are an aged population, because when people joined way back when, and now those people are 85 to 90 years old. Year to date, since January, NARFE has had 2,640 reported deaths. There's a lot of deaths probably are never reported. So NARFE says we've got to do something to turn finances around, because the other finances come from the greeting cards and calendars and our affinity partners and so forth, but that doesn't make up the difference. And it says right now, if we don't do something to stop the decline of members, that NARFE will have to shut down in 2020. Well, I don't think it'll shut down in 2020. I think there's a little bit of scare tactics going on in that aspect, but we do have to do something. We got to me, you got to dangle a carrot out to encourage people to join, and we know the millenniums are not joiners, so I don't know what kind of carrots you could dangle to get them to join. So you got to be dependent on your current members and your recently retired, the baby boomer generation, because the baby boomers were joiners. But there tends to be some blinders at NARFE headquarters in that aspect, that all their efforts are geared to the young active feds, and they're not joining. So therefore, our members are dying, and we're not getting younger members to replace them. So this is what has created a lot of the proposals that are coming up at National Convention. And at the Region 3 Leadership Training Conference, we thought we were going to get answers on strategic planning, because they had individual from headquarters and also our Region 3 Vice President, plus we saw the video, and I encourage each of you to go online on the NARFE website under strategic planning, and there is a video, and it is so, it's the lady that is serving as a facilitator during the video is from Sabatier Consulting, who NARFE hired to facilitate the strategic planning process. And then John Dowey, who is the National Secretary and Treasurer, and then Evelyn Kirby, who is one of the Regional Vice Presidents, are on that video. I listened to it at home, and then I had to watch it again at the Region 3 thing, and let me tell you, I got really upset, because you knew some of the things that were being said were not reality. So as we were going through some of the questions at the Region 3 training conference, they kept talking about, well, this and that and the other, you know, and we kept saying, well, who did you talk to? We knew who they had talked to, because they talked about all these focus groups. We knew that they had only talked to people within inside the National Capital Beltway. Where do 85% of federal employees live? Outside of the Beltway. Having worked up there, that's a whole different culture up there. So if you're talking to people up there to plot your future for NARFE, you're talking to the wrong people. You need to be talking to the people out in the fields in Georgia and California and Texas and Ohio and all those places where our federal employees live. So some of the process has been flawed, and want to talk about a couple of the things, and could you give each person, Larry, could you pass these out? These are the 3 major bylaw resolutions that came out of the Strategic Planning Committee that will be voted on at National Convention this year. And these are a make or break situation with NARFE. I'll wait till you get it before we start going on. There are more bylaws to be voted on, but these are just the 3 that came out of the committee. The first one we're going to talk about is, and I think this is the one that's going to get a lot of discussion at National Convention, is providing for optional chapter membership. We already have an option now. We can be a member of traditional chapter, which is your local chapters, or you can be a member of NARFE. You already have optional chapter membership. Well, headquarters doesn't see it like that, because when we said, what happens to NARFE, they have that option now. And they said, well, people are confused when we offer them chapter membership or NARFE membership. And that's when this deal, well, who did you talk to? And then that's when they admitted they only talked to people in the National Capital Region. I don't know about you, but when I have talked to people and asked them to join, I've always given them the option, NARFE membership or traditional chapter. They didn't seem to have a question on that. It is the first step of the plan to eliminate chapters and federations if we go to optional chapter membership. They never could ask me, well, what is that option going to be? You already have 2 options. I still don't have an answer, and we had the headquarters person there, and she could not answer that question. But I really don't think, I think they're going to get a lot of repercussions on this. This will go before the membership committee at the National Convention. I'm on that membership committee. The committee has to make a recommendation even if it'll be voted on. So I don't know how it will go, but even if it is voted on, I think they're going to get a lot of repercussions. I was reading a thing from California, and they are adamantly opposed to this also. So I encourage you to look at this and think about the repercussions. Don't always believe what you read in this, because remember, this was written to try to push it through. But I think it will be the end of chapters and federations, and if you get rid of chapters and federations, who's going to do that on-site recruiting, that face-to-face recruiting, which is your best recruiting method? Who's going to do your Alzheimer's? Who's going to do your FIA? Who's going to take all those phone calls? And I can tell you, my phone rings 5 or 6 times a week from NARFE members and non-NARFE members with questions, needing advice and assistance, or, who do I need to call, or what do I need to do? So who's going to do all that if you do away with chapters and federations? So this is one that really concerns me, providing optional chapter membership. The next one is 1 member, 1 vote. This one, either way it could go. I don't think what they're wanting to do is really going to change anything, because how are you going to get in contact with all these people that have no email, or that we send a hard copy letter out? I'm not talking about just this chapter, in a chapter, and it comes back undeliverable. Or if you send something out, they're not going to return the vote. And they say too many members are disenfranchised. Well, it's not going to be any different with this, because it's going to be the same people that are going to vote all the time, because most people are not going to take the effort to return their ballots. Plus, when you gotta mail things, that costs money to mail things. So, yeah, everybody needs to have a vote, but for example, before we go to National Convention, we will take a vote from this chapter here on how you want us, Larry will be our voting delegate, how you want us to vote on these 3 issues at National Convention. You know, if we have half the people wanting to go one way and half the other way, we can split the votes. We have that option. These will be by ballot vote, and Larry will be the voting. And every chapter should do that. So it's going to be the people that come to meetings or read the newsletter that are going to know about things. And that's not going to change if you went to one member, one vote. The same people are going to still do this. So this one, I don't know which way it will go. I just know that I think it will cost money to the federation, to the thing. And the last one, this is one I get upset about, is giving our National Executive Board, which is comprised of the National President, the National Secretary and Treasurer, and the 10 Regional Vice President. This will give them the authority to adjust NARFE dues no more than 10% every 2 years. What is the one thing you hear from many members or prospective members when you ask them to join?
How much?
$40 is too expensive. And we want to give 12 people the authority to make these decisions. They're not out there doing the recruiting. They're not out there talking to people. You got to remember, $40 may not sound like much to us, but we got a lot of members that are below the poverty level, because when they retired, they were GS2s and GS3s and GS4, and their annuity is basically nothing. And $40 is a lot of money to them. And then you up that amount, I think this will just create chaos. And also, if you're on dues withholding, how are they going to keep it with OPM? I mean, OPM has enough problems as it is. How are they going to keep the changes with OPM? If dues increases, then that changes everything there. So I just don't think that we need the NEB making these decisions, because when I sit and I listen to some of those RVPs, and they don't even know what's going on, many of them out in the field. They're not in contact. They don't go to chapter meetings. They don't do a lot of things. So we'll see. I have no idea how this will go, but I think they're going to get a lot of repercussions on this one, because many of our members are elderly members, and if the dues go up, they're going to drop their membership. NARFE, who's kept NARFE strong for all these years? The long-time members. It's people like you that have kept NARFE strong for all these years, and we can't afford to lose those people, because we're not recruiting new members. Now, another thing, you know, NARFE has money problems, and the Strategic Planning Committee proposed that the number of regional vice presidents be reduced. The Fund Committee had recommended that also, and we were overruled on that. The Strategic Planning Committee recommended that, and at the March NEB meeting, they rescinded the earlier decision and said, no, we need to keep all 10 regional vice presidents. Regional vice presidents make each of them make $25,000 a year plus expenses. Just by reducing it from 10 to 5, we could save about $217,000 a year. You know, so do we need 10 regional vice presidents? We've got computers, we do webinars, we do all these things now. Do we really need things? But anyway, they reversed that decision. I can tell you, I have seen about 6 resolutions that have been submitted by federations recommending that the number of RVPs be reduced. So it's going to be a hot issue at National Convention. It does not require bylaw change. The NEB has that authority now. but it's going to be a hot discussion at convention. And also the NEB voted that all resolutions, everything would be voted on at National Convention by ballot this year. In the past, the only thing that was required to be voted on by ballot was election of officers and anything to do with money. Well, there's some rhyme to their reason for making this change. Because remember, when you vote by ballot, each chapter either has the delegate with their votes or the proxy votes. So that means that, you know, based on the membership, all those votes are cast. NARFE, do you know how many members are in NARFE now? 31,000. Because NARFE automatically puts people in NARFE even if they don't request to be put in NARFE. That means if you vote by ballot, you know, you get 50, for every 50 members, you get a delegate. So you take that and figure how many votes they would have. They want NARFE to have the thing because NARFE, they're trying to elevate NARFE as a regional vice president. So to me, you've just enfranchised all the delegates to the convention because anything that was not to do with membership thing, you voted on it from the floor, so the people that were there actually voted. So I guess only the people that are the voting reps will get to vote this time. The rest of us, even though we're delegates, won't have any say in the voting. So, but NARFE hasn't published those minutes yet. They are on, I found them hid in a place on the website. They're supposed to publish those, but they have not been published yet. So now I know why. Hiring the executive director. This is something, as I said, that came out of the fund. It needs to be done. You need somebody to run the day-to-day operations of the organization. No other organization has their national president concerned with the day-to-day operations, managing employees and everything. You need a executive officer or CEO or whatever you want to call it. NARFE has been fighting this, but supposedly they have a job description written, and they have hired a headhunter firm, that's what I call them, to go out and try to find somebody. But the problem being is now they're saying, well, we don't know if we have the money to pay him, because you're not going to get somebody cheap in the National Capital Region. This person would be responsible for the development of the budget, membership, all those things, and he or she would be responsible for the employees that are up there. So that's just what's going on. I wanted you to hear about strategic planning. I encourage you to watch the video. I encourage you to read those bylaw proposals, because at the August meeting we'll talk about how you guys want us to vote. Any questions? I know I've run through this real fast, but we talked about it a couple of times, but now it's come down to the real issues of what's going on. Questions? Okay, then we'll get back to our meeting then. But if you have any questions, feel free to call me, send me an email, or whatever. On unfinished business, Larry already talked about the 7-Eleven update, the web reform, so I won't go into that. Remember, several of you, in fact 11 of you, gave money for the booster list for the National Convention. Maryland has submitted that. There were 201 from the Georgia Federation, so that has gone in, with 11 of those being from our chapter, so the names will be featured in the NARFE program book. Federal Benefits Institute, the next one coming up is on May the 28th. And what it is exploring TSP withdrawal options. And Tammy Flanagan's again conducting that. Again, these are excellent. They are free. All you have to do is sign up by going on the NARFE website. You've probably gotten some information from NARFE encouraging you to participate. I encourage you to participate in it. It's probably the best thing that's come out of NARFE in a long time. They are excellent. And Tammy Flanagan, who conducts those, is also going to be one of the speakers at the National Convention. Region 3 seminar, Larry and I, Clarence and Kurt and Ralph attended it. It was held in conjunction with the South Carolina Federation Convention. I think South Carolina, it impacted theirs. It impacted their convention, and I don't think it will be held again in conjunction with a Federation convention. We had some good speakers from the city there. Columbia and South Carolina Federation were excellent hosts. I must commend them for that. We had, I did a presentation on the history of NARFE there. We had a presentation from NARFE headquarters on membership, and also Jessica Clement, the legislative director, did the legislative update, and we thought we were going to have a question and answer session, but it sort of never got to that point. We never got past strategic planning, so I was a little disappointed in it, but I don't think we were surprised and all, but at least it gave us some insight of probably what the convention's going to be like on strategic planning. The drawing for the membership incentive from the September through end of March, which several people's names is going to be this weekend. So for the $100 cash drawing, Nancy's name will be in there several times, Larry's, mine, Hope's. There's several people. Names will be in there. We got one individual, I think his name's going to be in there about 15 times, so he stands a pretty good chance out of the Athens chapter. But that drawing will be probably this weekend. We'll be doing that. And also, if you have enrolled in dues withholding since last May, that annual $100 drawing will be also in the next week for that. So if you haven't enrolled in dues withholding and would like to enroll in dues withholding, I have the forms with me, and you still have a couple of days to get in this year. I think there's like 15 people right now. And on the event, the Congressman Austin Scott event, I won't know anything until June, because that's when she told me that she would be able to get back with me on the calendar. So maybe at the June meeting I will know. Now, an important thing, summer picnic. Do you guys want to do it in July or August?
Not on a rainy day.
And where do you, I mean, what do you want to do? Everybody, wake up. July. Okay, it'll be our regular meeting. And what do we want to do? The only thing, if we have it here, I'm going to make it clear with Lewis, do not stick us in that little room like he did last year and we were sitting on top of each other. Do you guys want to do a typical picnic with hamburgers, hot dogs, and that? I mean, I'm open for any suggestions. And we'll bring some homemade desserts.
It sounds good.
Sounds good? That sounds be the same price that we always do. I know. So the July meeting with hamburgers, is everybody in agreement with that? If not, we're open for suggestions. We tried going down to the river park a couple of times, but it is so hot in July or August, and the gnats almost carried us away. So we just decided, and maybe we can have some special musical entertainment or something at that meeting. So, okay, so July, hamburgers, hot dogs, the normal, and this room, not the little room. Okay, everybody got the NARFE calendars, that comes from NARFE headquarters, want you to donate. Well, did you notice anything different on it this time for the month of May? They had Mother's Day listed the wrong Sunday. I didn't even catch it till I sent Laurie something at church that said we need to do our Mother's Day service of lives on 15 May, and she came back and she said Mother's Day is the 8th of May. And I don't think anybody at NARFE headquarters realized it till some other federation contacted them and said there is an error. NARFE pays a company to do these things. And my question is, did the company give NARFE a rebate? Because NARFE makes money of those. So you better check for Father's Day to make sure the right day is on there. But that was a major error. There may be something in NARFE magazine this month regarding that. I don't know. You know, the Georgia Federation Convention will be coming up in next May. I think it's what, the 2nd through the 4th of May. It'll be at the Courtyard by Merritt again. We're looking at totally different thing of doing more workshops and sharing things and less extemporaneous stuff during the plenary sections. The committee's going to start working on that. Jackie Beatty Salmons out of Chapter 380 in Atlanta is the chairperson of this. Jackie's very good at organizing things. She organized the 2013 convention. Marilyn Benson is the northern coordinator, and I'm the southern coordinator. So, you know, we're already working with the Marriott on menus and this kind of stuff and trying to get the BEOs finalized so we'll know the cost. But we are looking for committee members. In the newsletter, it has a list of committees. If you're interested in being on a committee, let me know. But they also ask for chapters to volunteer for certain things. And if you guys agree, and I told Clarence to put a holder on there, but I'd have to wait till after the day, that we would do the goodie bags again. I mean, to me, that's easy. And we again would share in the profits, if there's any profits from the thing. So do I hear a motion that we volunteer to do the goodie bags again? Do I hear a second? Okay, all approve, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, I will confirm with Clarence that we would do goodie bags. That's to me one of the easier ones. I hope that there will be more profits this year because there's going to be a lot of emphasis put on ads from the Warner Robins area. I think they dropped the ball the last time, so we're going to try to up that a little bit. So, but if you want to be on a committee, please let me know, and I will relay that to Jackie, and then I will let you know which ones are selected and all. So, but you can only serve on one committee. The goodie bag committee is no real committee with the chapters doing that. So, but they're always looking for people on the committee on food and entertainment and all those good things. Any questions about the convention? And I'm not going to talk about the COLA Medicare Part B premiums because Larry covered that already. But that is a real concern because, you know, if we get a COLA, it's going to be so small because right now it's like 0.85 that it went up, and if we got a COLA, it would be less than a percentage. This would mean Medicare premiums increase and everything. So in one way, we need a COLA. I know we need a COLA because it affects military retirement and Social Security and everything. But then it's going to hurt on Medicare premiums. If we don't get a COLA, then the ones not held harmless are going to have a big impact. People are going to get hurt by this in some form. So we got to monitor this. That's the reason it's so critical that we need a CPIE and all. So because we know health insurance is probably going to go up. They went up the last time, and they're probably going to go up again. They've sent the letter out, the call letter, to all the insurance carriers, but I don't know what date they have to have their proposals back in. But open season will be here before we know it. You know, we get the premium rates usually in early October. We'll know what the 2017 premiums are.